Aha. Life-changing performance. I would say Carol Channing in Hello, Dolly. I went, wow, I would love to be able to communicate like that. And also Gower Champion's direction and choreography of that show was sensational. So it was a double whammy for me. Now that's how you put on a show, and that's how you star in a show.
The performance that made me want to go into theater, I remember very vividly. I was a student at Columbia. I was going to be a journalist like you, and I went to see a play at Stratford-on-Avon, and there was an actress called Zoe Caldwell in a play of Shakespeare I'd never even read called All's Well That Ends Well, and it just blew my mind. I said, she can speak to an audience in a way I never can as a journalist. I'm going to write for actors. And she was in a scene, and she had a big scene with Dame Edith Evans, and it's as vivid as if I saw it yesterday. And then 20 years later, she's starring on Broadway in my play Masterclass and winning, and we both won Tony Awards. So that's a nice cycle to have in your life. But Zoe was the one. It wasn't about the play, it was Zoe, the power of grabbing an audience by the lapels and saying, listen to me, this is important, I have something to share. My heart has things to say to you, my mind. And I said, God, theater is so tactile. It's not like reading a news story in a newspaper. This is vivid, real.
The show and the performance that changed my life was seeing Mandy Patinkin in Sunday in the Park with George. I was an intern at Playwrights Horizons in 1983, and I applied for the internship only because I knew that Sunday in the Park was there, and my job was to bring new songs from Stephen Sondheim's apartment to the theater because a messenger had lost one and they lost their minds. So that I watched that show be born, and then I followed it all through its development on Broadway.
Mom and Dad took me into New York, and I saw Fiddler on the Roof at the Imperial Theater. Herschel Bernardi was playing Tevye. Had no idea that in theater, design, music, and movement could integrate in a way that was so thrilling.
My dad took me to see Crazy for You on Broadway like 7 times.
Yeah, I'm going to give the weird answer. It was Giorgio Strehler's Piccolo Teatro di Milano production of Servant of Two Masters that I saw in the late 1980s in Paris at the Châtelet.
Work of Jerzy Gotowski that I encountered in college was a huge part of, and then when I got out of college, I think the first show that I saw that really touched me in that way was Andre Gregory's Vanya on 42nd Street. Not the movie, but when they did the show on Broadway at the New Amsterdam, when the New Amsterdam had not yet become the New Amsterdam. It was before the Lion King moved in, and they would do that show for 50 people a night. I think those were the seminal sort of early experiences that made me want to do theater.
What about them?
The persuasiveness of actors who are truthfully embodying characters in an entirely convincing way was like magic.
When I was in high school encountering Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, it seemed true in a way that no other texts were true in my childhood. But even before that, I was in a high school children's show production of Aladdin where I played a servant. And I remember sitting in the auditorium and watching a young man I knew and a young woman I knew try to convince us that they had fallen in love. And the thing that was amazing is that it was right there. That it was people I knew saying words written by somebody I didn't know, but we could influence it. It was ours. It was high democracy. And that's the thing that I think is the most beautiful and compelling about the theater, is all you have to do is take the stage and convince people that you belong there. And all of a sudden you do.
Do you have an answer to that?
The first Broadway show I saw was the original Into the Woods, and there was something
really magical and electric about that production. And to be in there, to smell the fake smoke or whatever, the theatrical fog or whatever, and to feel the energy of that room, that is an energy within a community of people that I had never felt before. And you feel it in the best productions. I don't know that it's a religious kind of thing. It's a kind of ecstatic, aroused, a wonderful sensation that I knew I needed to be a part of, and I wanted to be in that room as often as I possibly could. And yeah.
I saw a show in the early 90s at Ensemble Studio Theater called Lady on a High Wire with Victor Slazak, Suzanne Shepard, and I think Francis Conroy. I was a banker, and it made me quit banking, and I became an actor, and I have never regretted it.